Ciao Milanisti, welcome back, and damn, we got our asses kicked last night against Inter Milan 5-1, humbling in the Derby della Madonnina. And yeah, you know what, this is we've got to do this video. We've got to talk about quite a few things here. Pioli is the biggest piece in this VT, where look, we've got a coach here who can. I'm comfortable with 18 out of 19 teams in the league, with Cremonese back in Serie B, with 18 out of 19 teams in the league. I've got a coach I'm comfortable going to any ground, home and away, and you know, getting a performance. But Inter, he ain't got it. He doesn't have the answer. 5 losses in 2023. This is the biggest one in a while. And the tactics ain't changing. The tactics are not changing. And it's not even a point where he's got new players in, he's got more quality. Yes, you know, there are a few things that we can slice down. He lost Tomori to the red card. Kalulu gets injured as well. Not ideal when you lose your two fast centre backs against a dynamic pairing of centre forwards in Thuram and Martinez. Not ideal at all, but then at the same time you change your approach. And we're going to come on to that in a sec. But look, I'm wearing this shirt because it's probably the last time we actually beat Inter in a derby, 2021, 2020, 2021, I think this shirt comes from. I know we beat them since then. We beat them in the Scudetto season. We beat them the start of last season as well, but I'm having a little bit of a play there. But it's just so few and far in between where we beat Inter that it's actually getting to the point where it's laughable. Pioli. He's got my name, Stefano. Let's have a little bit of a deep dive into what you're doing here. Look. You go into this fixture without your two fast-playing centre-backs. You go into this fixture with a young, still learning his trade, Malik Chow, and a 35, I think, year old Simon Kjær. And then you're going up against a pairing of Martinez and Thuram. And I've said this so many times, why we get burnt and killed in this fixture is because we lose it with the centre-back pairing against the centre-forwards. It's been the case since Lukaku versus Romagnoli. It's been the case since Martinez versus Kjær the last couple of seasons. Dzeko against Tomori last season, and probably the season before that as well. And it's happened again because we go for this need to match them one-on-one, 2-on-2 with the centre-backs versus the centre-forwards, and they absolutely pull us apart. They can pull us apart with strength, with speed, with intelligence, everything they always kill us with. But you know what? What we could do in that scenario is what we've done against the likes of Napoli, where we don't just leave Osimhen one-on-one with Tomori and Kjær, we double up. Or we don't just leave Kvaratskhelia one-on-one with Calabria, we double up. We could do that against Inter, but Pioli doesn't seem to get that. And I got to ask myself, why? Why is Pioli neglecting any sort of intelligence to go, you know, they've had our number in 4 out of 4 of the last games. We can't seem to pick a tune when it comes to sorting out defensively how to shut these lot down. Let's just be a bit more reservative. Let's be a bit more cautious going into the game. Let's not take any chances. And we have struggled previously, and we have conceded early against Inter Milan in previous games. Let's settle the shop for the first 20 to 25 minutes, get ourselves into this fixture, and then start to build some attacks and to build some sort of composure into the game, because we know that we struggle. And the moment we go down to Inter, they've got us right there in the palm of their fucking hands, and they got us right where they want us, they're like, you know what, go on, attack us then, panic, chaos, because we'll catch you on the counter attack. And that's what happened on the second goal. It's what happened on the third goal, and the fourth and the fifth was just, you know, heads were gone at that point. But he's not learning. He's not learning game management against these lot, and it comes down to the start of the game, and it comes down to the approach when you get yourselves back into the game. Pioli isn't getting it against this Inzaghi side, and he just thinks that it's going to work itself out. And he's got some great players that, you know, in his side now when it comes to the attack, and some dynamic midfielders. But he needs to protect this fucking defence, and I'm going to swear because it's really frustrating. And it goes to the point where I compare it, like Pioli against Inter is like Tomori against any English side. That everything goes out the window, and it's just chaos and panic, and it's just, you know, high blood pressure, and they lose their heads, and they come out after the game going, you know, I could have done a lot better in that. And 100% you can do, but you're never going to learn if you never change your approach going into the game. I love a coach who's willing to go, you know what, we're going to go and attack a team. And then when I saw the build-up play happening, and it was effectively I wrote this down as a 2-3-2-3, because it was Chow and Kjær with maybe Krunic dropping in a little bit, but it was ultimately Krunic, Teo, and Calabria playing as a sort of like, it's what Man City do, where I think where Pioli's been watching too much Pep, but it's what Man City do when the fullback's going to play as inverted midfielders, and then he's got Reinders and Loftus-Cheek just ahead of them, who can hopefully come back and defend, but not always consistently, but also offer a line of balance to the midfield to then link up with the three forwards. And maybe Pioli did it, and I think he did it to say, you know what, I'm going to pin back these wing backs, Di Marco and Dumfries, because I've got Rafa and Pulisic in a higher line, and they're not going to press so high. But at the same time, what that does, and that press, and we saw it with so many of the goals from last night, is ultimately when that doesn't work out and we get caught with our pants down on the press and they break on us, we have got no layer of protection. You're ultimately saying, Chow, can you take on Martinez one-on-one, or Thuram one-on-one? Kjær, can you take on... And there was one bit when Kjær's on the floor, like breakdancing, trying to clear the ball away for again one-on-one against Martinez. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? We're playing with fire. And yes, we might be saying to ourselves, and Pioli might be saying to himself, we're going to increase the amount of chances that we can create. And rightfully so, it looked like the case because we created more chances than we did in the previous derbies. But we then also created more chances for them to score on a counter-attack. And that's what happens when you get that result. There's a layer of, I guess, of balance when it comes to creating some more defensive awareness and protection. Or, you go the other way and you go, no, I'm going to roll the dice here, play a bit more attack-minded, and then create more chances. But if you don't score those fucking chances, we're going to get our asses pegged down the other end. And so I keep swearing because it's really frustrating, because it gets to the point with like a lack of intelligence here. And look, and ultimately it's hard to say what the answer is, because this is a very, very strong Interside with a very, very strong tactically minded coach, with a formation that we've historically struggled against. They can dominate the midfield if they want to. They can dominate our fullbacks if they want to. They can dominate our centre-backs if they want to. And I ultimately don't think that their centre-backs are the best in the world. But what they do very well in Milan is have a very good shape. When they defend, and you see when they defend, Thuram comes in, Martinez comes in, they sort of block off those passing lanes to the DM. You got that five in, well, kind of like probably the 3/5 in the midfield who can switch out defensively and attack minded as well whenever they want to, and they've got that 3 at the back who are going to ultimately outmark Giroud and then probably double up with Rafa as well. So they've got our number when it comes to setup as well. So what we have to do as well at the same time is change our approach when it comes to the defensive setup as well. And that's what Pioli is not doing. And that's why we're consistently struggling against this side. The approach was awful at the start of the game. We're a goal down, 5 minutes in, and then we're chasing it. And I felt like at the 25th minute, 20 to 30th minute, we got back into it. We're carving some chances out. Teo's got that one where he burst through with the link-up play with Giroud. And another day that might go in and it's another story. But that's the whole point of this, is the fact that we're then chasing the game. And then a couple minutes later, we're still pressing. Martinez with that quick through ball to Thuram, and then we find ourselves 2-0 down to an exceptional Thuram goal. So it's through to Dumfries, who switched over to Thuram, and then he caught Chow napping, who had an absolutely horrific game. And at 2-0 at half time, I'm thinking, we create some chances here. We can still score a goal. And we did. And I think me and the boys were talking in the group chat, if we score before the 60th minute, we're back in this game. And we did. And we were. But this is once again where Pioli becomes undone. Because it's not like, he enforced the subs. They came on, I think Chukwueze was on at this point. And I wasn't going to ask any more from a substitution perspective. But it was also, ultimately, we're a goal away from getting a good result in this game. And 2-2 is a good result in this game when you consider the fact we're lacking two of our strongest centre-backs, fastest centre-backs. And you sometimes in football have to ride the wave of momentum. And I feel like he saw that moment. He was like, no, go for the jugular. Go for the 2-2. And rewatch that third goal. How many times have we seen that build-up play where we're pressing, and they do us with a couple of free passes, and bang, long ball to the centre forward, is isolated, and it's game over. The players aren't tracking back because they're knackered, because they're pressing. Control the bloody game. Like, close it down a little bit. We've got a third of the game left to score an equaliser and even potentially score a winner. And this is where Pioli just hasn't got it right. It's the game management point where it comes to the start of the game, where it comes to still seeing himself in the game. Against Inter, he's getting himself undone because he's just losing it like Tomori does against English sides. He just loses the composure and he loses the knack to absolutely control the game. It's really frustrating. I was more pissed off with the 3-1 goal than I was at the 5-1 goal, because the 3-1 goal essentially killed the game, like killed off the result of getting a draw and even potentially getting a win. And it was seeing the same thing happen again and again. The 4-1 and the 5-1 was the players ultimately giving up. Teo lazily going for that ball penalty. Players not tracking back at 4-1, obviously 5-1. Look, that's embarrassing, don't get me wrong, 4 and 5-1 to come away from that result. There is quality in the squad, and it shouldn't be results that are 3-0 or 2-0, where Inter are just so dominant. And rightfully so, it leads us to question how good this coach is. And I love this coach when he plays against a Lazio, or Roma, or Juventus, or Napoli, and all the other sides in Serie A. But the one side, and it's just so sod's law, it's the one side we care about the most. For Derby, Inter Milan, he can't get it right. And until he gets that right, we're never going to be convinced of him as a top coach or the coach for us in the long run. And management have to look at that game. They have to look at that fixture, regardless of how we end this season, and go, is this right? Is this right for us? And I love Pioli to bits, and a lot of us are sitting here going, let's be a bit more humble, let's be a bit more respective, Scudetto this, top 4 that. I love him, but this is his biggest downfall. He cannot get it right against Inter Milan. Look, nonetheless, his comments as well are shocking after the game. I hate all that as well. He needs to be a bit more acceptant to the fact that he got it wrong, acceptant to the fact that players need to be himself and the players need to hold themselves more accountable. Just not good at all. But anyway, we go into the Newcastle game midweek. Tuesday, 5 o'clock. Big game, 5 o'clock UK time. Big game. We need to bounce back. And if you look at the fixtures coming up, Dortmund, PSG in that group stage. Juventus and Napoli in the league. Hellas Verona. I want to get some points on the board. I'm convinced that we can go to these games and get some good results. There's going to be a question mark on the squad. We'll get Tomori back, obviously, for the Newcastle and the Verona game. Question mark, I don't know when Kalulu's back, but there's a piece there on this defence. The centre-backs, we've been talking to them going from this summer. Tomori with his mistakes, Kalulu with mistakes, Chow as well, still very young and can be exposed with speed. Kier, obviously, we know he's lacking. And then Pellegrino, I don't know much about him. So I'm wondering if we go into this January market and we look at, it has to be the approach. With Benacer back at that time, it has to be, look, can we get a centre back in? Can we get and have to make some harsh decisions? And if it might mean us potentially selling a Kalulu or a Tomori, I don't know what it's going to be, but ultimately we're going to have to do something to sort out this defence. So I'm hoping they address this in the January market, but just not good. None of us are really happy about this. Anyway, guys, let's chin up. Let's go to the next game, and until then, Forza Milan.